everybody. Happy Pride in Washington, D.C. I want to welcome everybody, and we are here to celebrate our D.C. values. We are here at the Reeves Center in Ward 1 to kick off D.C. Values Week. I am joined by members of my administration. I want to especially acknowledge, and you will hear from him, the director of the mayor's office on the director of the mayor's office on LGBTQ affairs, Japra Bowles. We are joined by all of the members of the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, the directors that represent all of our constituency offices in Washington, D.C., led by Jackie Reyes. Thank you, Jackie. We are joined by representatives of Capitol Pride that are bringing back our festival. Let's hear it for Capitol Pride. June is an exciting month for a lot of reasons. It's the start of the summer. It is also Immigrant Heritage Month in Washington, D.C. And we have an exciting announcement. Last week, I introduced Natalie Schneider as the first director of the Mayor's Office of Caribbean American Affairs. Let everybody see you, Natalie, the first director. Give her a round of applause. And it's also Gun Violence Prevention Month. It is also Juneteenth. So we have a lot to celebrate, but also a lot to focus on to live up to the values that we hold so dear in Washington, D.C. We're reminding everyone that D.C. is open. We are happy to be open. We have a lot to celebrate and a lot to celebrate together. So this weekend, we have the Pride Parade and Festival back. And it's back, baby. Back after 2 years. On Saturday, we will also welcome the March for Our Lives. On Sunday, we have the second annual Pequeño El Salvador Festival in Mount Pleasant. And that will lead us into a week where we are preparing to celebrate the culture with Something in the Water, a festival that will happen over Juneteenth weekend right here in Washington, D.C. So these are the types of events that represent our values, and it is a part of why being in, living in, working, visiting Washington, D.C. is such an incredible and unique experience. We know that there are going to be road closures, so Chief, you're going to talk about that. There he is. He's behind me. And we are also recommending that everyone ride our beautiful, safe, and clean Metro. Let's hear it for our Metro. And if you need to drive, we want to remind you to drive carefully, share the road, follow instructions, listen to our officers and volunteers that are going to be out there to make all of our events a success. We also want you to go to alert.dc.gov and sign up to receive real-time alerts. These alerts range from street closures to public safety notifications. And you can follow us at AlertDC on Twitter. We also want to remind residents that if you see something, stay something. Don't get tired of hearing us say that. Because there are literally thousands upon thousands of eyes out there on the streets that can help us keep each other safe. So call 911 to report any threats, emergencies, or any suspicious activities. So it's going to be a busy weekend. We're ready for it. We want your help. We want you to have fun, and we want you to spread the word. So please stay alert, drink water, celebrate our, and not too much of everything else. Remember that. Be responsible. Let's celebrate our DC values and have a lot of fun. Now, I want to introduce your chief of police, Chief Robert Conti.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just picking up where the mayor left off, I love this city. My God, I love this city, and especially when we get into this time of the year. It's been 2 years since we've been able to have our wonderful Pride Parade here in the nation's capital and so many other wonderful events. But now that our city is open for business, we are open for business. That is awesome, and that is something to be proud of. But to ensure that we are doing things responsibly and to ensure that we are having safe events, that takes that takes coordination with everybody. It takes coordination with community. We know that in the summertime in DC translates to events, festivals, activities. We are expecting large crowds in DC this weekend and next weekend to attend events such as the Pride Parade and Festival, March for Our Lives, the Poor People's Campaign, Something in the Water, the Barbecue Festival is coming up, 4th of July is coming up. So it's a busy time in our nation's capital. In addition, we expect some First Amendment activities to take place. Multi-layered planning and coordination is nothing new to the Metropolitan Police Department. As we all know, this is something that we deal with here in our nation's capital yearly, not just during the summer months, but we deal with multi-layered planning and coordination regularly here in our city. The safety of our residents and all visiting is our main priority. So we are increasing our presence to have coverage in neighborhoods and our downtown areas, which includes the activation of civil disturbance units platoons. In addition, we are working closely with our law enforcement, government, and community partners to ensure that all of these events are peaceful and our neighborhoods are safe. As we think about, and this is very important, as we think about some of the things that have happened in the space of public safety across the national landscape of our country, specifically with respect to gun violence, individuals who are considering attending these events should not think to bring firearms into our city. I'll say that again. If you're coming to enjoy our beautiful city, individuals should not think to bring firearms into our beautiful city. We need to help keep the peace in our city. That will leave the law enforcement and the firearms, leave that to the Metropolitan Police Department. That's our responsibility. You just come and have a great time in our city. So, that being said, firearms have no place at these events. And that is a great time for us to showcase. This is a great time for us to showcase all that DC has to offer. In addition, as you know, with large-scale events and an influx of visitors, we all have to deal with the reality of street closures and traffic delays. So I'm asking everybody, pack your patience. Can you repeat after me? Pack your patience. When you come to our beautiful city, for all of us, pack your patience, pack your patience, pack your patience. I love it. I love it. Pack your patience. I cannot tell you or begin to tell you the number of senseless crimes, acts of violence that happen as a result of people who don't exercise patience, from simple traffic disputes, a simple shove, or just people who just disagree. You have to pack your patience if you want to come and enjoy these events here in our city, because we're not going to tolerate foolishness. That's the bottom line. We're not going to tolerate foolishness when we have people who are here in our city, residents who are here in our city, who want to enjoy the peace and serenity of Washington, D.C. So please make sure that you pack your patience. All impacted routes and closures are available for review on our department website and our Twitter account. Please plan accordingly with respect to your travel. We will send updates via our social media accounts, so please make sure that you're following the Metropolitan Police Department as well as our partners at the Department of Transportation, the DC Department of Transportation. We are working with our sister agencies, as I mentioned, DDOT, but in addition to DDOT, the Fire and Emergency Medical Services, to minimize the impact on our residents. But we do urge everyone to consider using mass transit when possible. That is very important. We want to keep some of the vehicles off the road. Please use our mass transit system. We have a beautiful mass transit system. We're coordinating with our partners at Metro Transit Authority, so please use that. And as the mayor mentioned earlier, if you see something, say something. Now, I cannot overstate that that little thing. If you see something, it is important for you to say something. If it looks out of place, you can text us anonymously at 50411, or you can call us at 911, or you can call us at 202-727-9099. There are ample, or if you just happen to see a police officer, just go tap them on the arm and say, hey, that doesn't look right to me, all right? So you have multiple avenues of making sure that things get communicated to law enforcement if there is something that looks out of place to you. At this point, I'd like to welcome up to the podium our Director of LGBTQ Affairs, Muriel Bowser.
Happy Pride! How we doing today? Good. Well, my name is Muriel Bowser, and I have the honor of serving our mayor, Muriel Bowser, as the Director of Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Questioning Affairs. Thank you, Chief Conti, for honing in and keeping our community safe. And I also want to thank our LGBTQ plus liaison unit, who is often the first point of contact for our community after a hate bias incident. So thank you, Officer Walker, Officer Thompson, and also for our FEMS team, specifically Daryl. Thank you so much. You've been really, really helpful throughout all of this Pride season. We are the District of Pride. And instead of banning books and instead of banning saying gay, we embrace, we empower, and we celebrate our LGBTQ plus community. Since Mayor Muriel Bowser became mayor, she has expanded this office to become one of the most robustly resourced offices of its type in the nation. Because we know when LGBTQ plus members are at the table, equity and justice are achieved. Since Mayor Muriel Bowser became mayor, we expanded our youth LGBTQ housing from single digits to nearly 100 units of LGBTQ plus housing. And this year, in this year's budget, the most equitable budget ever crafted in DC's history, Mayor Muriel Bowser doubled down on the LGBTQ plus workforce program, committed to funding opioid outreach to prevent opioid abuse in our community, and enhanced funding for support services for our emergency shelter for those experiencing intimate partner violence and domestic violence. So I want to get a shout out for those investments. These bold investments for our LGBTQ plus community are the result of the continued work and partnership with DC government, Mayor Muriel Bowser, and our LGBTQ advocates and community members. Mayor Muriel Bowser also empowered us to work with Capitol Pride Alliance, and to make sure that this is the most welcoming and most successful parade and festival in DC's history. And I am proud to say that DC is open, and this weekend we are going to have a weekend to be proud of. Tomorrow, please join the mayor and our contingent and walking with her in the Capitol Pride Parade at 2 o'clock right here at this very spot. And we will be championing and walking with the mayor at the front of the parade to champion our LGBTQ plus community and our DC values. Now I would like to turn it to Sahan Miramani, the Director of Operations at Capitol Pride Alliance. And thank you so much, everyone. We celebrate Pride this month, but of course we celebrate Pride 365. And if you have any questions, need anything from our office, please reach out to me or our mayor. We will absolutely take care of your needs. So thank you so much, Director Miramani.
Thank you. It's been said before, but happy Pride! What a thrill to be here, and what an honor to be here to announce the return of the large-scale Capitol Pride celebration. There are so many horrible things happening to LGBTQ plus people around the world, and we are so privileged to live in a city that protects us and cares about us. So thank you so much, Mayor, for helping keeping us safe in this city. It's the last large Pride celebration was in 2019. And since then, we've hosted many hybrid events and many virtual programs, but we kept hearing from the community, when is Pride coming back? When is Pride coming back? And many Pride organizations around the country and the world have either disbanded or stepped back this year and for the foreseeable future. Being that we're from Washington, D.C., and for many the LGBTQ plus capital of the world, we knew that wasn't an option. And so we are so thrilled that the mayor and her agencies offered support for us this year, and we hope that support lasts for many years to come. So thank you, Mayor, for all the help that you are supporting our small nonprofit this year. Our theme this year is reunited, and our team couldn't find a better word to symbolize what everyone has been feeling. For many people in the community, our community is our family. So in many ways, we are planning one of the largest family reunions this weekend, and we have a slate of events that will impress everyone. Our large-scale parade will start tomorrow at 3 o'clock at 14th and T and end at 21st and P. Reverse, yeah, it used to start the other way around. And we've expanded the route to fit some other neighborhoods in there and acknowledge how the community has changed and moved throughout Washington, D.C. There's also a block party at 17th Street, which begins at 12 and ends at 10. And then on Sunday, we have our famous festival. It's the largest annual festival in Washington, D.C., in the footsteps of the Capitol building. We will have exhibitors, nonprofit organizations, businesses, artisans, food vendors, and we finish off with a sunset dance party right under the Capitol. So there's no other place that you can do that except in Washington, D.C. We're a very small team, and we rely on the support of individuals and the city, so we're so grateful for all of that. If you want to learn more about our events, you can go to capitolpride.org. There's dozens of events that are occurring throughout the city this month, and we hope that you stay connected with us throughout the year, and we look forward to seeing you this weekend. We're ready to be reunited. Happy Pride!
Well, thank you, Sahan. That was an outstanding description of all of this weekend's events, and I also encourage you to go to their website to learn more and to support the organization. So with that, I'll start with a few questions.
Questions, guys?
Any questions? Sam?
Given that you've had some of these horrible events around the country, is the city taking any particular measures, given that you've got big crowds?
Well, you heard the chief's description, and I can have him add to it. But of course, we are going to live our lives, and we're not going to live in fear, and we're going to rely on each other, but also on our government, who has supported events and knows how to support large-scale events, and what are going to take every precaution that we can. But we're also asking each other to look out for our neighbors.
And of course, this is going to be, I guess, as you said, like a longer than one event. I mean, this is a series of events, and you've got a huge one, I guess, something about
Something
the
in the water. Something in the water. Yes.
I don't know. Are you stretched too thin? I don't know if the chief could answer this, but obviously you're going to
Sure.
have a lot of...
I'll ask the chief to answer.
Thank you for that question, Sam. First of all, let me just say this, man. I mean, our department, we have the number of officers that we have, but, I've officially deputized everybody that's standing out here, everybody who's going to be attending any of these events. As I've mentioned before, if people see something, we want them to say something. Public safety is the Metropolitan Police Department's responsibility, but the reality is it's everybody's responsibility. The Metropolitan Police officers of this agency, we are used to large-scale events. The mayor has authorized, and she has been very firm on this from day one, whatever it is we need to do. If we need to work overtime hours, if we need to make adjustments, Chief, you have the authority to do whatever it is you need to do. And we've done the things that we need to do to ensure safe events for everyone.
Is it all hands on deck?
Is it all? We have everybody working that we need to have working. I won't coin a term or phrase for it, but we have the resources that we need to have working to ensure safe events. Again, beginning with with the one that we're talking about, Pride, that's coming up immediately, but several events that will be happening through the summer. We're being very strategic in that space because, again, while we have these events going on, we have communities that we got to make sure those communities are covered and that they see police officers in those communities. So we have the resources that we need to have focusing on both of those events to ensure safe events across our city.
In this case, with neighboring jurisdictions?
No, at this point, we're not. It's not a requirement for mutual aid, although that is an option if needed. Again, in our surrounding jurisdictions, as we see, things that are happening. Again, looking at the national landscape of what's happening in the space of public safety, people need their police officers where they need their police officers. But certainly, if there was something here where we needed to call upon our sister agencies in surrounding jurisdictions, that's really a phone call to get additional people in our city if we need that. Yeah, so several of them are here. We are active partners with our friends over at Pride. We, as part of the planning process that we've been going through, we've been working hand in glove with them. So it may be some who are in uniform who will be attending, maybe some who are not in uniform. We didn't put any restrictions or parameters in place for our police officers who want to take part in this. So it's a big dance party, man, under the Capitol, and I'm just excited to see that. So no restrictions in place, and for officers who want to attend, certainly they'll be there both in uniform and not.
And so is it not that it's like formally or informally participating, it's just an individual's decision?
Yeah, absolutely. The members from our liaison unit, I'm sure that there will be the officers who are part of our liaison unit who will, no doubt in my mind, be participating. They do every year, every year that we've had it.
And when you spoke about, when you spoke about possible First Amendment activity that you were preparing for,
yes.
What were you referring to specifically?
We have First Amendment activities in this city every day. We got stuff going on right now that oftentimes does not, make the media or anything like that. As you know, we have a looming case in the Supreme Court. Those protests can pop up at any moment, at any time, and we have to be in a posture of preparedness for those types of things. There are ad hoc protests that start up for whatever reason. A group of people decide they want to show up in our beautiful city. But, the great thing is, again, the Metropolitan Police Department in this coordination space, we do this regularly. I'm excited. Again, we have collaboration even amongst the different groups who know that this other group is having something and this other group is having something. So they've altered their time and their routes so that we can adjust personnel if we need to. So everybody has been working very collaboratively in this space to ensure that we have a safe event, to ensure that we have a fun event, and that people can just come out and enjoy themselves.
Apologies for not introducing myself. It's Ellie Silverman with the Washington Post. And you mentioned a looming case in front of the Supreme Court. Are you referring to the abortion case?
Well, that's one, but every week, they're releasing a list of different cases that have interest from, different people that generate people to show up in our city to protest. So, again, something that the Metropolitan Police Department deals with every day of the week. And at this point, when we're specifically talking about this weekend where we're going to have increased visitors to our city, we have to be in a posture of preparedness for all of those contingencies.
And when you talk about large crowds, do you have an estimate?
I'm going to get to somebody else. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Okay.
Chief, if I could,
Sure, Mark.
on the two big events that you have going on, the Pride event and then the gun violence rally on the National Mall, can you talk about crowd size? I mean, as we hear, we haven't had a Pride parade in a couple of years. What are you anticipating crowd size for these two individual events?
Well, it depends. I think that both events will be certainly well attended. When you talk about the March for Our Lives, I think that is something that will certainly be well attended. But the other piece to kind of take into consideration is that those demonstrations or those protests will be happening really nationwide. So, it may not be everybody coming to the nation's capital for that. It could be the region. And sometimes we don't know what those numbers are going to be until game day. But that's something that we'll continually to assess. We'll work with our federal partners, U.S. Park Police, and so forth as the day is going on, just kind of monitoring crowd sizes, monitoring how many people are using the metro and that kind of thing to really kind of give us a better sense of what's actually showing up on game day. Sometimes, Mark, you don't know until you actually know. And this is one of those things where, again, the Pride Parade hasn't happened for 2 years. I anticipate large crowds, period. That's where we are right now. We anticipate large crowds.
Are they marching or are they stationary?
Well, that depends on again, contingencies that you have to prepare for. They could initially start out stationary and then begin to move. Right now, they have a permit, I believe, with U.S. Park Police, so we'll have to kind of see how that washes out on game day. A lot of times with our First Amendment assemblies, Mark, what we will see here in the District of Columbia, because we are a city that support First Amendment, people will show up, let's say here at 14th and U Street. And this happens regularly, right? And we'll have a large party right here in the middle of 14th and U Street, and then they decide we want to go from here to whatever. And the Metropolitan Police Department will be in a posture to safely facilitate that First Amendment movement from point A to point B. So we're going to remain flexible in that space to do the things we need to do to ensure safe transition from point A to point B if it comes to that.
A lot of the nation watched last night. And
Yeah.
you mentioned the looming Supreme Court decision.
Yeah.
Are you making any preparations in light of the congressional hearings and the video, the J6 video that's being released, that there might be, as you say, pop-up demonstrations in reaction to that? And if I could get both you and Mayor Bowser's reaction to that video that was released last night of your officers.
Yeah, so, a lot of these videos, many are kind of reruns for us because we've had the benefit of seeing our officers' body-worn camera video. So I know the mayor is no stranger to these very troubling images, and to be quite frank with you, it really caused me 4 days on the job to really relive some of those images that were taking place, assaults against our officers and so forth. But in that space, Mark, again, because we are the nation's capital, and because we know that protests can pop up at any moment, we have to stay in a posture of readiness to be able to respond to any uptick or any increase in activity in the First Amendment demonstration space that could pop up. The Metropolitan Police Department stands ready to respond.
I chose not to watch last night, Mark. We a lot of people here lived through it. Our police department, our fire department, were first responders on the scene. I remain so proud of what they did to protect people and to protect an institution that represents our democracy. So I'm proud of, I remain very proud of them, but also know how traumatizing it is for them to relive it. Yes.
Hey there, Mayor Bowser. It's Joseph Olm over at WDVM and DCW 50. I'm assuming that you saw just over 24 hours ago 3 people were gunned down north of here. It was in Maryland. I want to get your reaction on that. And when there are tens of thousands, potentially tens of thousands of people coming to our nation's capital for DC Pride and for March for Our Lives, and they see these news about a shooting happening in the vicinity of DC, what are you, and I guess this question goes for Chief Conte as well, what are you doing to reassure them that they are going to be safe while they celebrate Pride and while they rally for gun violence?
Well, I don't see any connection between what happened in Columbia, Maryland, in the district. The connection I do see is that we have a proliferation of guns in our country, more guns than people, and we don't have adequate federal protections to keep guns out of the hands of people who don't need them. And we in the district, one of our values that I mentioned at the top is we're for sensible gun reform. And we want to protect each other from people, whether it's a fit of anger or mental illness or whatever, that leads them to use guns on their fellow Americans. What I said at the top is that we are prepared and we don't live in fear. So our city is open. We're going to celebrate our city. We're going to rely on the men and women of our public safety agencies that include MPD, Fire and EMS, Homeland Security, OUC. Who am I missing? Everybody. Oh, thousands of eyes of our community members to let us know if something is wrong. So I get your point that people are seeing just a lot of gun violence on the airwaves, whether it happened here or it happened in Buffalo. people are feeling that fear. So what I say to Washingtonians is that we're working very hard to be as prepared as humanly possible. We're relying on them to be smart. City smart is what I call it. Let us know if they see something wrong, and enjoy your town and celebrate our values. Yep.
I'd just like to hear from the fire chief as well. Obviously,
Yes, Chief Donnelly.
They've got a lot of stuff.
They get a lot of stuff, and as the chief comes up, his name is Donnelly, so he has an umbrella.
I missed the question.
Chief, obviously, it's hot weather, big crowds. What are y'all doing?
So we're working closely with the Mayor's Special Events Task Force with our partners at MPD and HSEMA to plan for these events, to understand the crowd size. What we do tell people and get our resources out there. Our Fire Operations Center is up to monitor resources throughout the city. It's important that we do things to support the people that are visiting and these events, as well as keep our services around for the rest of the city. But the most important things that people can do are the common sense things. Be hydrated, stay in the shade, drink and eat. Eating is important too, and just be sensible about being out there. Keep your eyes open. You can tell us, you can tell the police if something's uncomfortable, and we'll get it to the right people so we can all be safe together.
Are you going to have first aid stations out there?
So there are first aid stations at different. Each of the events is a little bit different, but where the requirements are there, yes, there's definitely first aid events out there. Fire and EMS may not be managing them, and may be different services, but there are first aid stations out at these events.
And will you have more people on as the police are?
Oh, absolutely. Our workforce over the course of really since the beginning of the pandemic has been working extremely hard. They're out there every day. They are dedicated men and women. We're the only urban fire department in the country that did not shut down stations during COVID.
Yeah. And did a lot of tests.
And 274,000 people tested at community firehouses. So we're out there. These are amazing folks, and they're dedicated to being here. Yes, they'll be out there for the Pride Parade. They'll be out there for all the protests. We're here. We have extra resources.
Last question. Okay. Yes.
Sarah Payne with the Hill Rag. Is there a plan to extend the hours of the Metro, specifically for the Something in the Water Festival next weekend?
I don't. Somebody remind me of the hours. I don't think so, but I may need to come back to you on that question. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.